enjoy the ride with Crystal Petrie Consulting. So inspiring, pushing you to your dreams.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of 60 Minutes With. I'm your host, Crystal Petrie. On today's episode, we are going to learn all about volunteering. But we're going to learn about volunteering from the volunteer's perspective. My guest, Tania Castelan, has been volunteering for the majority of her life. And you will see how her passion for volunteering turned into her purpose in life. Let me know, do you volunteer? What is your favorite thing to do? And don't forget, subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. Now, enjoy the show. So you recently started your own nonprofit titled DAR Studio. Tell me about that.
So DAR Studio, that is the Spanish word for give. Our mission is to empower our community through educational and recreational classes. At the end of each month, we put out a calendar with a variety of events, and we're very consistent with some of the classes and programs that we do have there. We do workshops for the youth, we do ESL classes, English as a second language, for adults, and we do Spanish lessons for children. So it's a little bit of everything. And that studio came about because each year I do a Mother's Day event, but it doesn't actually fall on Mother's Day. That, you know, the United States, when is Mother's Day in the United States?
I think it's like the second Sunday in May, something like that.
Well, in the Hispanic community, it's a little bit different. It's May 10th. So I decided to host
every May 10th.
Every May 10th. So I decided to host a Mother's Day event. Dia de las Madres is the name of it, at Madison's Bar and Grill on Dallin. So, and we sold tickets, and the tickets go, once we end up with money, and for the profits go to a scholarship with Daniel Cruz, and that money goes to first generation students who are going to college. So that little bit of money will help them with books or whatever they are needing help with, because college is not cheap.
It is not at all. It's more expensive every year.
So we host the event, and a lot of Hispanic people came because they knew that Dia de las Madres was, and it was open for the public. It's always been open for everyone. Anything I do is not just Latino based, but I do feel like I do get a lot of the Latino crowd, because I do promote a lot of things in both languages. So I think that's another reason why I do. I don't just cater to the Latino community, but a lot of them do come to the events because I put them in both languages. So I have the event at Madison's, and a lot of our guests were Hispanic, and a lot of them were just like at awe. They were really surprised. They had never been to Madison's, and they were just at awe with it, like the event. And I just didn't understand. I felt like maybe they were missing that experience. So I did notice that a lot of the guests were from the south end of Beaumont. So I purposely chose the south end of Beaumont because I know the Latino community is big there. And I decided to open the studio. So with the studio, I would bring different events. I would bring different things that I felt like maybe they hadn't experienced. So that's kind of where that came about.
Now, earlier you were talking about you were thinking of starting a gym. So what was the thought process that was like, I'm going to start the gym? No, I'm not going to start the gym. I'm going to start these ESL classes.
Yeah, so a client friend, she calls and she said, hey, we've got this space for rent, and it was 2 offices with a wall in the middle of it. She's like, I've got these 2 offices, can you lease them out for me? At that time, I wasn't bored with real estate, but I had a little bit of money set aside, and I was like, you know what, I want to open something new. So I was going to do the gym. No, I don't know anything about a gym, but I just figured, they have the machines, they can work out. It'll be something easy to run. So I did my homework. I talked to different trainers on what they would need and what machines were used the most, and I figured I could Zumba. Well, we'll put some Zumba in there. So I talked to someone. It was a smaller space. When my dad looked at it, he's like, Tania, what are you going to do? This is little. You're not going to be able to do anything with this. So, and I had a vision in my mind. So it did take some time to get it open, especially because I had to put a door in between the two offices to create it as a bigger space. Mm-hmm. And with the city, I was kind of back and forth. I'm like, do I label it as a work office or do I label it as a gym? So it was
Right.
2 offices. So I just labeled one as a gym and one as an office, but we have an opening in the middle. And to pull the electric permit, to have have people deliver the equipment. And so it was at first it was going to be a gym, but with time I started putting out a calendar, and I was like, you know what, I want to teach a class. I want to help my real estate agents, and I'll do a class for that. And then I'm like, oh, I want to do pictures with Santa, so we'll put pictures with Santa in our calendar. And then I want to do home buyers classes and how to buy a car, and because I had a lot of Latino people come in here into the studio, I was like, well, I'm going to have to do Spanish classes too. And here's why I put the kids Spanish classes on Mondays. I talk English most of the time,
Okay.
so I don't talk to my son in Spanish, and I try to. It's just like it just comes out easier in English that he hasn't learned Spanish. So I decided that I would put a Spanish teacher at the studio, get a Spanish teacher, work with them. At the same time, I'd be able to spend time with my son. We would do Mommy and Me Spanish classes.
Yes.
So that's kind of how the Spanish classes came about.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. So how long has that, and Doris Studio, that's actually the name of your nonprofit, correct?
Mhm.
How long has this been? Has it been a year, 2 years?
Yeah, we just made a year.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah, we just made a year, and it has been a roller coaster. I've learned a lot. There's been a lot of breakdowns and crying behind the scenes, but it's all worth it. Like I was telling you yesterday, I was driving home after a long day, but just walking into those classrooms, it's just like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So.
How many classes do you have? Do you have like one per day? Is it every Tuesday? What does that look like?
In the bigger picture, I see what's going to happen in the bigger picture. Right now, we have a couple classes running at the same time, which was really cool to see that, because for the first time yesterday, I was able to step out and not be having to be all in one place. And of course I have a team for this. It's not just myself, but it's taken time to train a team to make sure that the classes are running smoothly, make sure that we have the right instructor there. So we have Mondays from 5 to 6, we have a Spanish Mondays. Well, now it's Mondays and Thursdays. We have a Spanish class for children.
Okay.
With Miss Cherry. She's a great teacher. She works at Caldwell Elementary. And on Monday through Friday, mornings and afternoons, we have Zumba with Ms. Maria, and that's a great program too, because the moms kind of get a little break, and and they are nonstop. They do not miss a day. They do not miss a day. I've just seen a lot of growth in our instructors as well as our students. But Miss Maria, when I first met her, she was not a Zumba certified teacher, but we did talk like anybody that works with me, we're growing together. We're not just we're not just gonna stay. So when I found out she didn't have a certificate, her and I was like, you know what, I'm going with you. So I do have my Zumba certificate. Do I know how to dance? No. No, I don't.
But you can teach a class.
Yeah, not even.
No.
I mean, I'll participate in the class, but I can't. I can't lead one, but I do have a goal of going to the senior homes and doing a Zumba class with them, a chair Zumba class. They have a Zumba class where you can sit down and do the arms and do that. So that is on my bucket list. So
your classes for the children, they are teaching English-speaking children how to speak Spanish, correct?
Correct.
And is there an age on that?
Yes, it is from 5 to 12 years old. When we first started the class, because my studio wasn't as big, it was Mommy and Me. Spanish classes, but because our class has grown now it's drop off, and because we need to utilize the space, and you can tell the difference too when the parents are there and the children. And sometimes the children are more focused on the teacher, but if you have a parent, we just need the space too because we're small. So
and the adults, you are teaching Spanish-speaking adults to speak English. Correct.
Yeah.
Now, your studio, is it, and maybe this will be in the long run, but is it available for other people who maybe don't speak Spanish but don't speak English either, but need to learn to speak Spanish?
Yes, ESL classes are for those that want to learn English as a second language. It just so happens to be that the studio is in an area where, there is a lot of Spanish-speaking
Right.
people, but our doors are completely open for anyone who doesn't know the language and needs to learn the language. So.
Is there a charge for any of the classes?
Yes, we had to do, like with everything, we did trial run, like what would work, what wouldn't work. That's the same thing for Zoom, but do we charge this? So that was one of the hardest parts with the nonprofit, was figuring out what do you charge someone and how does it work? Because I still have to pay the lights and the water
Right.
and the insurance and the little fire thingy whatever we have
Yes.
to have. So I've been doing a lot of learning on nonprofit. When I first opened, I was back and forth. I'm like, do I go the nonprofit route or do I go just regular business? I'm like, let me just go regular business because I don't want to get in trouble and not know the guidelines. But the more work that we did, the more I was like, this is more of a nonprofit. So I'm still learning about nonprofits. I'm not profiting anything right now. Eventually, I'm hoping to have funds to do like scholarships for those that cannot afford certain classes, that we have
Okay.
something aside. Even with that, I've had to learn to do the applications and be very strategic about, do we put income, do we not put income? But I'm like, we do have
Right.
to, so that I can kind of keep track on all the data and see what the need is. And when we go and apply for grants, I have that documented. From the P&L, but there's just so much behind the scenes, but I'm learning as we go, and I feel like now we have a good handle on it.
Well, you did say you wanted something else to do.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here you
Yeah.
go. So how has your, marketing, how have you managed to get people into your classes?
Well, a lot of it had to do with already being in real estate. I
Okay.
think a lot of people already recognize me as in the real estate industry, so that was very helpful. Before real estate, I was a teacher, so I think I still had a good what do you say?
Maybe
Good
following,
yeah,
a community.
following with all the parents and the children. I taught for about 7 years, high school, middle school, and I ended up in the elementary bilingual program, so I still had a lot of ties with those parents. That helped.
So tell me how the ESL classes, English as a second language, came about at your studio.
So I got a phone call one day from Dr. Noyola, who has been in the ESL industry for a really long time. I've known him since I was 15. I'm 35 now, but I always remembered him in high school. He would come in and he would work with the Hispanic community because, of course, the children that were arriving that didn't know English, or he would get them college ready too. He was always in the education field. So he calls me one day and he's like, hey, I've got an idea to run by you. I was like, okay. So we went to lunch and he ran the idea about implementing ESL classes, and we structured it out. We try to come up with like some kind of payment system, and ever since then people would just call and call. Like, I can put a post about it because it's really necessary. Our population is really, really big, and we've got to learn English. English isn't going anywhere.
Right.
In order for us to kind of level up and move forward and come up, we have to know English.
Yes. Do you think, or has it been difficult to convince people of that you need to learn English as a second language?
I don't think so, no. And I didn't realize how quickly that was going to, how quick the classes were going to grow. And I don't know, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier that people would come to the studio and ask me for these ESL classes, and I would just send them to the library because they were doing free ESL classes there. But I think that what makes our ESL classes a little bit more different is that we are keeping them smaller. Or we don't really want 40 students, and and the teachers that are there, I've just been really blessed with the teachers that we have. They are all three are bilingual. Not that you have to be bilingual to be a ESL teacher, but all three of them are bilingual. All of them have more than 20 years. They're retired teachers.
Oh, wow.
And what I see in each one of them is that they are passionate about teaching. They're passionate about what they do. And so I think that's what makes our team really strong, and it makes our ESL classes very desirable, that people are actually willing to pay for them. Because that was another thing, like, do I charge, do I not charge? That was all tweaking and stuff. But now, like, I'm able to, with confidence, say my classes are this much, and people are like, yeah, they're willing to pay for it because they see the value.
Yes. Do you think that learning English diminishes your culture in any way?
No.
or takes away from your culture in any way?
No, I don't think so. I think it just gives you another tool in your toolbox to be able to, it's going to help you. And when I didn't have the teachers when I didn't have the teachers at Dar Studio, I stepped in myself to go ahead and start like teaching. And one of the things that like broke my heart was one of the ladies said, you know, I order the same thing at IHOP because I don't know what to order. I order the same drink and I point to the same pictures. And when they ask me about the eggs, like scrambled eggs, sunny side up, I don't even know what to say. When they ask me about what kind of steak, medium rare, they don't know what that means. And so it's like sticking to pictures or sticking to a buffet. And so we've done classes where I pretend to be the waitress. I give the menus and I give each of them a note card, and each of them have a problem, like there's a hair in my food, or the you charge me way too much. It's like, what do you do? And they don't know. Like, so it's like, I think I answered your question, or did I not? But
No,
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think it just gives you, it empowers you. You have to know. I don't think your culture's not going to go away. You just have another tool because you're in this big world now that it's nothing but English, from the menus to going to for the bills, the doctor. I've even gone, you know, I hate to say this on camera, but I'm going to say it anyways. I have a brother who is incarcerated, and so I've gone to go visit him, and it breaks my heart to see someone who doesn't know the language, and they're trying to see their person, and you know, they're turning them away because maybe they didn't understand what to wear or what time to be there. And then it makes me think, the one that was incarcerated, the person that they arrested, were they able to speak and defend themselves?
Right.
And so
Yes.
so it just plays into all types of things, from bills to real estate. Here, I can tell you why I got into real estate too. So it's very important. I was a teacher. I switched over to real estate. I was doing both of them at the same time. I'd get off work and I'd go to the real estate office and work there. And one day I walked into the office and I heard one of the agents say, I love working with Hispanic people because all they do is sign everything. So when I would see
So disrespectful.
Yeah. So when I would see some of the contracts, or I would see, when I would see some of the, you could tell like they didn't really negotiate on their behalf. There wasn't a time to do your inspection period, and they didn't know any better. They just saw you bring your money and then you just sign. And I've heard people just say, I just crossed my fingers and hoped that everything was good, and it wasn't. People still had liens on the titles, and so just a lot of that stuff going on. So I decided to go into real estate, but the education piece has always been. I've always been a teacher at heart.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are a mother, an entrepreneur. You now have your own nonprofit. Most people would say, I just don't have time to volunteer. And just listening to you, it really sounds like you don't have time to volunteer. How is it a priority for you, and how do you, I'm assuming you like strategically
No, you have to be.
write out time to volunteer. So how do you do that?
I really stick to a schedule, and again, I've built a team of people who believe in the same thing, and a team who has actually grown with me. They saw me from the beginning of real estate, and they've kind of like grown with me. I have been very fortunate to keep the retention within my real estate team, and some of those people have flip-flopped from the real estate to the nonprofit because of the things that they believe in. So I've done it with a team, and I've done it I stick to a schedule, and I plan ahead. I've always been real organized. I would say I've been real organized. Yeah.
Now, you were stating that whenever someone is, wanting to volunteer, they should volunteer in something that they are passionate about. Do you have, and I know education is one of your passions, do you have something within the nonprofit world that you are passionate about, that you do a lot of volunteering in this area? Animals, or maybe homeless people, less fortunate?
To me, I would say those that don't have a voice, and I think that's why the ESL. I've always gone for the underdog, no matter what. I've always the underdog is who I'm going to help out. And I think with the ESL classes, I mean, that's key. You've got to know the language, and it affects every part of your life, from real estate to the bills, to even going to order food, to going to talk to the schools about where your child, like we have a lot of students that come in from other countries. The parents don't know how to fill out the paperwork. They place the student in 6th grade, and they're supposed to really be in 7th grade. The child gets frustrated, they drop out, just situations like that. So I think my passion would, and I've never been an ESL teacher. I've been a teacher. I've seen them do the work, but I think it just, if I had to pick a program within my nonprofit, it would be the ESL classes.
Okay. When people volunteer, you're either giving your time, your treasure, so like your knowledge, or your finances, your money. As a volunteer, what do you think is the most important thing that people should give when they're volunteering? Should they give their time? Should they give their treasure? Or should they give their money? If they had to pick, which one do you think?
I think their time.
Okay.
Their time, because they can actually spend that time to see what their work is doing, and that emotion is going to be there. The money is great too, because it does help fund, but it's there, you know.
Right.
The time, you actually get to see it in person. You actually get to work with these people. You actually get to build those relationships with those people. And when you're putting in the time, I think that emotion piece is there.
Oh, okay. So for volunteering, should people volunteer so they found their passion, they know where they want to volunteer? Should they put a time limit on that? Like, I'm going to volunteer here for 5 years, then I'm going to go to another nonprofit and volunteer here for 5 years. Should they do that, or should they just find the volunteer spot and stay there for as long as they can?
Yeah, I think do it as you enjoy it, you know, as you see that things are coming about and things are going, you know, unfolding, and that what you are doing has a purpose and is making change. Whether it's an hour, whether it's a day, I think just find something that you like to do and you grow from there.
Okay. When people volunteer, this is what I found and what studies have shown, that when adults volunteer is because they were introduced to it by their parents or their grandparents as a child. Is that what happened with you? Did like family or friends introduce you to volunteering as a child?
No, I think I've always wanted to be. I think I was telling you earlier about the being like a Rosie O'Donnell. But one of the other things I wanted to be was a caseworker. I wanted to be a caseworker, a social worker, and I wanted to do that when I was younger. My mom was like, "No, you know, you're such a crybaby." I am. I'm a big crybaby. Anything, I'm always crying. I'm like, but I'm just so passionate about it. I'm like, but yeah, she's like, "No, you're such a crybaby, and you'll take every kid home with you, and this and that." So I was like, you know, maybe she's right. I'll just go into teaching. Well, actually, my dad's like, "No, get into real estate, get into real estate." I took the real estate classes, I didn't pass the test, and I didn't pass the test. I got too nervous, but I'm like, oh my God, that's like, you might get paid, you don't get paid. So I went into the teaching world, and I really enjoy working with kids. And so I don't think, I mean, my parents always have taught me to help. But I don't know where I learned to volunteer. My friend did introduce me to the junior league, and I just had fun with it because I got to meet a lot of new friends. And but I think that just the giving part's always been there. I didn't like that. I don't know.
Which leads me directly to my next question. Do you think that, and it sounds like it's true for you, do you think that giving and volunteering is innate in every person, or do they need to learn that?
I think it can be taught. Once it's that emotion piece, I feel. Like, I don't think my parents like taught me like go and do. I think it's just always been something that I've always liked to do. But I think that whenever you bring people along with you and they see and they make that connection, especially if it's something that they like, they will come back and they'll start, you know. So I just think that it has to be something that they're passionate about, something that they're interested in.
Is volunteering also a social engagement as well? Like, you meet friends or get married, you know, like, it's more than just the volunteering, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of things. People are, there's nothing to do. People are always needing help, but it doesn't feel like help. You're having fun with people. You're both interested in the same thing, and you can make anything and everything fun, especially if you're like with people that you like. And I enjoy meeting people, and then those that don't like people or just like to be their own. There's things like that. Like it just depends on what project's going on, and if someone needs help, or you don't have to socialize with a lot of people, but it's the end goal. So I think that's that emotion piece is so important, because you want to see where your hours are going. Kind of like when people donate money, they want to know where, you know, are they making a change? So that's why I always feel like those your time, being there and spending time and seeing what's happening and enrolling, that I think it's going to have that person come back, and especially if it's something that interests them.
You spoke earlier about having a son. Are you passing down your love and your passion for volunteering to him? And if so, how are you doing that?
I get that question a lot, like, how do you balance everything? I bring him with me. He's with me and he sees it, and I think it's good for him too, whether it's work, whether I try to overlap a lot of my things. So I try to volunteer where, like, there's a carnival and they need help. Well, great, my son can come with me. I've gotten to the point now in real estate too where my clients know me. They know that I'm a mom, and my son, you know, he's kind of gone with me, and he helps me turn on the lights, and he helps me open up the code, and I've taught him about roofs and ACs and you know what the client has to have, pre-qualification. That's the cutest thing to hear him say, but I bring him along with me. I try to teach him and bring him along with me.
So it's really doing as I do with your child, and especially with volunteering, showing him volunteering, and then he shall pick up on it. If someone wants to volunteer that's probably never done it, they're watching this podcast for the first time, where can they go? And I know we're located in Southeast Texas, but where can they go to look for volunteer opportunities? Is there a website? Is there something on social media where they can go and find opportunities?
Call Kayla White. I'll have a whole list of all the nonprofits. And again, nonprofits, some have a lot of volunteers, some don't, some are newer like me, and we're just now starting off I am now at a point at the with our DAR studio where I can now start going to go ask for grants. I can now I need volunteers, because I don't like chaos. I don't like having someone come on board and I don't have my stuff together. If you're going to be a volunteer, I want it to be very organized. You feel like you know what you're doing. It's chaos. I don't think anybody likes chaos. So to answer the question, I think the first place I would go if I was wanting to volunteer would be Kayla White with the Southeast Texas nonprofits, because that's a ton of organizations that are always volunteering. And just pick the ones with mission statement that you agree with. Like, for example, if their mission is to, you know, do more work with animals, then, you know, call them and see what they need help with. I think everybody will accept help.
Right. And I'll make sure and have Kayla White's information in the description box below so you can reach out to her. Your studio, if people wanted to volunteer with you, if people wanted to donate to your nonprofit, how can they do that?
Call me. Call me. Put my number, because that's the step where I'm at now. Now we're looking for volunteers. We've got programs that are rolled out now. Like I said, I don't like chaos, so when a volunteer is going to volunteer, they kind of have an idea on what they'll be doing, and it's not like just standing around feeling like they're wasting their time, because time is valuable. I respect everybody's time, and so I want them to come in and feel like they're making a difference too.
Okay. Is there a number that you can give out, or maybe an email address that you can give out to my viewers?
Yeah,
okay, and what is that?
Phone number is 409-338-5600.
Okay, so if people want to volunteer, if they want to donate, because nonprofits cost,
Yes,
the lights, water, and gas cost, would they use that same number to call you to donate as well? Okay.
Yeah, and I would love for them to come and do like on-site visits. I'm telling you, just them visiting and seeing what's going on, they'll understand. And I want to make sure that with my volunteers, that with my donors, that they stay updated with what we're doing and still build that relationship. Not like, let me just take your money and see you later. No, I want them to see the difference and
and really get something out of it.
Yes.
It is said that volunteering is mostly Caucasian females that volunteer, like 55 to 60 years old, who are volunteering. What can be done to bring on more diversity within the volunteer world, and that's racially and with the age? What do you think can be done?
I think educating, because there's a lot of Hispanic moms that don't work and have the time to do it, and they want to, and people just don't know. They're not. And then what I've noticed that since I've gotten into the nonprofit world, there isn't a lot of unless I'm not seeing them, but there's not a lot of Hispanic, Latino nonprofits, and it's not that I just cater to Hispanic people, it just happens to be that I speak both languages, and so they're able to communicate with me. And there's there's a big population of people who can relate to you, who can also, and I understand their struggles. I've seen it with my parents and with my uncles and my grandparents from when they got here, from every single industry that they've had to kind of encounter, from insurance, from buying houses, from going out to eat, so they can relate to you. But me knowing that culture, I know that there's a lot of people that want to volunteer. They just don't know where to go. And for example, the workforce called me when I first opened the nonprofit, and they were asking of me if I needed volunteers. I was like, well, I still don't even have my programs out. Like I said, I don't like chaos. I want everything organized. And they were saying, well, the people that are working on getting their citizenship, they have to now do volunteer hours. But a lot of the people here only speak Spanish, or they struggle, and they want a bilingual nonprofit. So there's really no other like nonprofit, and I feel nonprofits, they do a lot of the volunteer work. So I guess to answer the question is, I don't think it's just Caucasian women that would like to volunteer. I think it's more of educating our community that we do have places that if you want to volunteer, there's a lot of Hispanic ladies that would. And it's coming. I think we're going to see in our area, and I guess I could speak just off of for Dar Studio. I know there's going to be more Hispanic women volunteering.
And and studies have shown that Hispanic people do volunteer in mass numbers and mass hours, but they only volunteer in their community.
Okay.
But listening to you, I can understand why, because of the language barrier and understanding each other. What do you think people in nonprofits outside of the Hispanic community need to do to include the Hispanic community in volunteer opportunities and make them feel welcome and wanted?
I think maybe one of the ideas would be visiting their businesses, like going and even, I know Hispanic people love when other people even try to approach them and try to speak Spanish to them.
Okay.
Like making the effort to speak to them instead of vice versa, them having to try to speak the English. So I know that is something that they love to see. I think just approaching them. I mean, there's a lot of groups of Hispanic people who would, if they understood what was going on, what the mission was, and they would go and volunteer.
When volunteering, a lot of the times people who volunteer can afford to volunteer. Meaning if they've retired already, they've saved, they've invested, whatever the case is, and they can retire and not have to go back to work. If you are currently working, like your job allows that flexibility for you to retire. What happens to the people who can't necessarily afford to volunteer but they want to? What would be your advice for them?
It doesn't have to be like 10 hours. I mean, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just come by. Maybe we just need a couple posters created with the kids. Just like those fun activities. For example, Pelican Bay, that's a residence home.
Okay, is that a senior residence home?
A senior residence home. I saw a post on Facebook that their citizens needed Christmas cards. So I just gathered a couple of I invited the Zumba moms, the ESL moms. I put it out in public for anyone who, want to come spend time with your child, create a couple Christmas cards. That's still donating your time. It's still volunteering. You helped me make 40 Christmas cards, and then those kids were able to take them to the residence home. So it doesn't mean that because you don't have money or because, just spend some time with your child, 1 hour, 2 hours, come make Christmas cards. So you are volunteering your time, and it is helping another business. So.
Do you actively seek out volunteer opportunities? I know you said that you do primarily your volunteering with Junior League of Beaumont, Texas, or is it Southeast Texas?
Beaumont Junior League.
Beaumont Junior League. Do you actively seek out other volunteer opportunities? Like you saw that call for help on social media, I'm assuming, from Pelican Bay. So are you actively looking for volunteer opportunities as well?
No, it just came across, but I feel like, I don't know, I just always kind of come up with ideas, and I'm like, I happen to be on Facebook and see that, like, oh, you know what, that'd be great, we can go help them. But I'm not like consistently, but if I come across something, I'm like, yeah, I mean, if we can help, we will.
You are definitely out of the box when it comes to what the typical volunteer looks like. You are younger, you are a person of color. What do you say to that characterization?
I don't know. I'm thinking what I say to that. I mean, I'd like to hope that I'm an example or role model to encourage more people to do it. It's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
the feeling that you get when helping, again, find something that interests you. There is plenty of things to do, and there's plenty of things that we can be helping with. You know, it just takes a little bit to, you know.
A little bit goes a
Yeah,
long way.
yeah.
Right. So you really don't have, because I feel like when people think of volunteering, they think you have to give like hours and hours and hours.
No.
But you were saying you can give 10, 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
and be volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a long time, it's not a time commitment, I guess that's my
No.
question. So it's not a huge time commitment if you really want to volunteer.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it goes back to educating, letting people know what, you know, I hope volunteering doesn't have like a not a bad meaning, but just one of those, oh my God, I'm going to have to go over there and do, you know, find something you like to do and come help.
Yes, absolutely. You have been volunteering for years.
Yeah.
I know you said you didn't want to say your whole life, but for an extended amount of time, you've been
Yeah.
volunteering. What is your intention with volunteering?
My intention with
Mhm.
volunteering, I just want to help. I want to see people do good.
Okay.
You know, and if I have those tools to be able to help you get to the next level, then by means I'm going to do it. Like that's kind of what I tell my agents. If I whatever I have is yours. Whatever resources I have is yours. Like I don't. I'm not the type that's not going to teach you what I know or show you what I know. Like that. I feel like that sometimes is a big problem when I see leaders, whether it's a real estate team, whether it's you know, someone who owns a business, they don't want to teach the next person because they're scared that they're going to take their business or take, you know, and I feel like there's enough to go around for everybody. So just whatever you know, teach it. Whatever you have should be, you know, everybody else like you to help with whatever. I don't know, just help.
Right, right. At the end of the day, it is about help because we all need it. We all need it. Now, one of the things that we were talking about off camera is you have a lot of support from community members and community businesses. Tell me about that partnership and why that's so important.
It's very important because, again, a nonprofit, we don't start off, I mean, I've been funding this thing on my own as a single mom, and I don't know where the money goes from. Like, I don't even know how I made it this month, but here we go. And so having those partners, it doesn't always require like, hey, can you pay for this or pay for that? You know, it's their time and what they know. They've come in and educated my the people who were interested. Like here's just an example. I have someone who wanted to talk about mental awareness, and so she came and did a couple of classes. I had someone who wanted to do free CPR classes.
Okay.
So during the summer we did free CPR classes. I don't know everything. There's a professional for each industry,
Right.
and that's why having those partnerships helps. Not DAR. I've also said DAR's studio is a platform for other businesses. Like come in and teach what you know to the next person. So having those partnerships is very helpful because not only does it benefit them to teach other people, but it does benefit the studio to have educational classes where we're still empowering the community.
At your studio, as we talked about earlier, for the youth, you are teaching English-speaking children how to speak Spanish. Are there other things that you would like to bring to your studio for the youth?
Oh man, there's a lot. But if I start thinking about it, like I'm the type, like if we talk about a program, like if you were to tell me, hey, let's start this program, I'll call you tomorrow and we'll have an outline and we're moving forward. Like I do not waste time. But right now we are working on here's one of our partners, Meg Brown. She is in junior league. But she has a program. It's called GEM, and it's a girls empowerment movement.
Okay.
And she's done a couple workshops at the studio. One of them covered coping with emotions, self-esteem. So that was one. And I am working with another lady who we are working on. This one's the MAN certificate.
Okay.
The MAN certificate is for
The name is funny.
yeah, the MAN certificate is going to be a 4-week program,
Okay.
and each week the boys, they should be in middle school or high school. We want to teach them how to change a tire. So our partner, he doesn't know yet, but I'm going to ask because we're working
Breaking
on
news, breaking news.
Mr. Muffler will teach them how to change a tire. We're going to have someone teach them how to turn on a grill, but we're going to tell them why it's important to do all these things. And then I'm going to have someone come in and do etiquette, how to tie a tie, how to treat a woman. And so we'll have like not a date night, but like a little tea party thing where they can bring their mom and then career ready, and then we'll have like a little graduation and give them their certificate. So both programs, the girls program and the boys program, will roll out in March together, and then the next phase will be boy and girl, but we're going to teach them like budgeting, financing, things like that I'm like, man, I wish they would have taught me in high school.
Yes.
So
which they do not teach that anymore in high school or middle school at all.
Yeah.
It seems like your studio, and you can expound on this, it seems like your studio is helping the whole person.
Yeah.
Not just one specific area. Was that intentional, or did it come about where, okay, I see this need, we need to fill that. I see this need, we need to fill that.
Yeah, I think that was more like that. Like I see a need here, but really just growth. To me, is self-improvement and growth. But I did go one program at a time, and there's so much more that I want to do. There's so many other programs that I want to implement, but I'm trying to just one step at a time so things can get rolling properly. And and then just behind the scenes, like the P&L stuff and the taxes and all that kind of stuff, and the nonprofit, learning the guidelines, all that's a whole job in itself. And I still have to go sell real estate so I can fund this. So I'm like,
oh
and
yeah,
be a mom.
oh yeah, my other life.
Yeah.
If someone wants, and I know you just got into this, the nonprofit world of having your own nonprofit, but if someone who's watching this podcast wants to start a nonprofit, what's the first thing that they need to do?
Save some money. Please save some money. Yeah. I would say at least pick one good program that you feel that there's a need for. I think I would start off with one program and really look at costs, like how much it's going to cost to run you, because I feel like, I guess, and I'm just going to say it, I'm not embarrassed, I'm very transparent with stuff. Like, I almost did find myself in a hole. Like, I was like, oh my God.
Oh, financially.
Financially, yeah. So, do save some money aside. Do get some business partners ahead of time. I think maybe the business partner thing was, I found myself doing 3 projects at one time, and maybe put I have so many grades over here.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were opening up this office, and I ended up buying a clinic that I thought I was going to create into an office. Well, nothing happened with the clinic. I had an empty clinic that I was just sitting on and paying monthly, and then I had this studio that we were painting and all this and that still going on, and I had opened up the studio at the same time, not knowing if, at one point I thought it was going to be a gym, and then it turned into a nonprofit. But I guess if I could give anyone some advice, would be save some money to put aside, partner with someone, and have a good program that you're going to want to roll out. I just kind of did it as I went, but with everything else piled on. I don't even know. There'd be days where I was just like, I don't even know if I should be doing this. Like, did I do the right thing? Did I not? And a lot of meltdowns and breakdowns behind the scenes. And God just works in a funny way, because there was one time where I really was bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm already too far in to go backwards. I've already invested a lot, and I know this is good for a good reason, but I've got to go sell this and make sure that this gets paid. And we had just finished free CPR classes, and a lady that took one of my classes called me that morning as I was like boo-hooing, and she's like, I just wanted to tell you that thank you so much for the CPR classes. There was a wreck on my way to Houston, and they had to utilize the CPR.
No.
And so I was like, God, here's something. So,
wow.
Yeah, those little things, every time I feel like I'm about to quit, or I'm just like, I give up, something always happens that it just always works out that way. Yeah.
So you stated that through tears, you were asking yourself, should I be doing this? Yeah. Have you figured out that answer yet?
It's just that feeling you get. Like, after, like yesterday, I was exhausted, tired, but I knew that, we were going to have new students, and I knew that we had a newer teacher, which that's another thing, like, that is God's doing, because one of the teachers that we were going to have for a later session was no longer able to do it. So I was like scrambling, like, I'm going to have to step in myself. And I'm like, that's 7 to 9 p.m. I still have to make sure my child gets in bed, he's ready for school. So, and I don't want to let down these people who are wanting to learn. So I may have to postpone the classes. And then all of a sudden, like, this one great teacher appears. So, God's doing, and then the way you actually feel when you walk into those classrooms. So exhausted yesterday, walk into those classrooms, and it just like rejuvenates you.
So your answer is yes. Yeah. You should be doing it.
I'm going to keep doing it.
Absolutely. And I know that, you guys have recently celebrated the 1 year. Again,
Yeah.
happy anniversary on that. But have you thought about what your end goal for your studio looks like?
Mhm.
Oh, you have. Oh, you did say you are that person. You are that person. You know what? I was skeptical about asking that. I was like, I think she just started this. Maybe I shouldn't ask that question.
Yeah.
But you're that person. Great. So, what is your end goal?
So it kind of started back to, working on budgeting again. If you're going to open one, save a little bit of money
Yes.
somewhere. We're budgeting. I'm like, how do I reduce the cost? Where can I save some money here? And real estate has kind of been the vehicle to drive me to my passion. I love real estate. I love what I do, but it's been able to fund what I've actually am passionate about, and it's helping people. So it all kind of works hand in hand. Again, we're going through our budget, and I'm like, oh, well, I am leasing from someone. Maybe if I could kind of not have to rent, I could kind of save that money. I would save that money. And so I get a phone call, and across the street from our studio, someone wants me to sell their huge building. It's like a 10,000 square foot building. They want to sell it. They'll own or finance it. And I go in there with one of my agents, and we're looking at it. I was like, oh my God, I wish I could afford this. I wish I could, I could see this, and I could see the studio here, the Zumba here, and the ESL here. It's all in one, because the churches down the street from us have been a really big help. Our ESL classes grew and grew, and both churches opened up their doors and allowed me to host those classes there. So I'm like, man, I need a bigger place.
Already?
Yeah, I'm like, I need a bigger place. And so we went and looked at this 10,000 square foot building, but I knew that it needed work, and I was like, I can't, there's no way I can afford this at all. And as we were leaving, someone next door was cleaning their lot, and they have this building, and he's like, hey, we're about to go into foreclosure. We need this. So we worked out a deal. And I don't want to speak too much on it, but if everything goes right, hopefully by the end of next year, we'll have a bigger building. Is it going to take money to fix this and fix that? And I'm crossing my fingers that from here to there, I'm able to get grants or something's going to happen. I'm working on it, but I do imagine a bigger place with a place for Zumba, a place where we could do our ESL graduations, a place where my admin has their own office, a place for parking, and an outside place, because I want those partners to come in and teach carpentry and teach this different skills is what I want them to teach. So inside activities, outside activities, just as one big cute little spot.
Excellent. That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So as we're wrapping up the interview, give me what you think would be the most important advice for someone who wants to volunteer and someone who wants to start a nonprofit.
Okay. So most important things for them to know for someone that wants to volunteer, again, pick something that you are passionate about. And if it's with us, we do have different programs. I'm open to people who want to start their own program. Our studio is a platform for other businesses. So like I said, I share whatever resources I have, I will share with other people. I think that it benefits when you work as partners. As long as you have clear communication. So for those that want to volunteer, find something that you're passionate about. And for those that want to start a nonprofit, make sure you partner with good people who believe in you, who believe in your mission, and where it is beneficial for both.
Okay. And my final question for you is, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast, but you have to help me get them on?
My neighbor Jose, his office is next door. He is a real estate photographer.
Okay.
And he's got a great story. I'd sit here and try to tell you, but if he tells you himself, it's a great story. And I'm going to call him when I get out of here and tell him he's coming.
Thank you. I don't think I knew that real estate photography was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's food photography too.
What?
You don't see everybody when they take pictures of their food before
I thought they
eat?
just take it with their cell phones and like post it.
Yeah, no, there's my friend Lauren. She's another good one. She does the foodies in Beaumont. I don't know if you know her, Lauren Bevo.
No, but I've
She's
seen
good.
some of her posts.
Yeah, she's a good one. There's a lot of great people. Mike DeLuna, if you need a motivational speaker, there
Yes.
he is. He's great. I know a lot of great people.
You
I make a
know,
list of
send
people.
them all to me. I would love to have them on my podcast. That would be amazing.
Will
Thank
do.
you so much for agreeing. And Kayla White, who we spoke about earlier, referred you, and
Yeah.
she spoke so highly of you,
Thank you.
and the work and the passion that you do for volunteering. And I thought it was a great angle, because we hear, like with Kayla, we kind of see the business side of volunteering, which
Yeah.
of course it is a business.
Oh, yeah.
But I've never spoken with someone to give me the personal perspective of volunteering, like what that does for them and how they are able to help. So thank you so
you're
much
welcome.
for that. Thank you. And thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get this podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.
Buckle up, enjoy the ride with Chris.